Okay, well, we're back in the garage once again on a somewhat warmer mid-March, first day of spring actually, Saturday afternoon. And today I'm going to hopefully get the choke cables hooked up to the carburetors and installation of the gas line, including the piping going through the heat exchanger on the air conditioning system. Before we start that, I did want to show you some work that we did during the week on a couple of minor items, and the first is the installation of the blow-by connection between the interior of the head and the charcoal canister, where gases made in the head are going to go into the charcoal canister, and that's by a metal tube that travels from the front of the head back and over the exhaust manifold cover, which we also installed last week, by the way, and then connects up with a rubber hose that eventually goes down into the charcoal canister, which is mounted on the fender well on the exhaust side of the engine. Then coming off the same port out of the front of the head of the engine and going to the carburetor side of the engine is another metal tube that runs over towards the carburetors, and again connected up with a rubber hose to another H-shaped piece of metal tubing that connects up to both carburetors, and that feeds the gases that are made in the head while the engine's running back into the carburetors. Well, we've got the gas line and the choke cables in place now. So what's happened here is a gas line which comes from underneath. There's obviously a metal tube that runs from the gas tank all the way up to the engine compartment. At that point, it turns into a flexible metal covered rubber hose which comes into the front side of the duplex manifold right here, goes through, comes out the back side of the duplex manifold, maybe kind of backwards of the way you might think it would be installed, and that turns and goes down behind the manifold, and at that point a rubber hose again takes over and comes up to a T that's between the two carburetors, and the two inlet pipes are facing one another and connect up with a rubber hose to that T. So that's the installation of the gas line. And by the way, these two ends of the gas line are what they call compression fittings. So this outside nut needs to be tightened, holding the inside nut stationary with a second wrench. And you don't need to make them too tight, just a little bit more than hand tight. And of course, as they say in the plumbing business, you tighten it until it stops leaking. And there's truth in that. So just a little bit mechanics tight, and then watch it on your first startup to see if there's any leaks. Now, on the choke cables, the two cables obviously come over the engine, and one is slightly longer than the other, and the longer one goes to the front carb and the shorter to the back carb. And as they go down on the back side of the carburetor, there is a sleeve with a 1/4-inch nut or a 1/4-inch bolt in it, and that 1/4-inch bolt is tightened. You slide the bare cable, not with covering the bare cable, through the sleeve, tighten the 1/4-inch bolt. It holds it to the choke mechanism, and then the second part of the installation is these black metal clips that hold the sleeve of the cable in place, and then of course the choke cable, the actual cable, the inside of it, moves back and forth through the sleeve while the sleeve is held in place to the carburetor. And this is identical installation on the front and rear carburetors. And the way I do it is that I put the chokes in the completely off position, in other words, no choke, and that puts the connector way down at the bottom of the carburetor. Stick the cable through it and tighten it in the fully off position, and then without pulling the choke to the on position at all. Stretch the cable sleeve a little bit to get some tension there, and then snap the clip into place that holds it. And the exact same thing with the rear carburetor. And that does it for the choke cable installations.